Hello everyone, how you doing? Welcome to this live webinar on behalf of the TEFL org. My name is Carl. I am an EFL teacher. I'm an EFL teacher trainer. I'm an online teacher as well, I should say, as well as a face-to-face teacher. I'm also an English examiner who's been teaching for about 20 years in a variety of places around the world, such as Japan, China, Sri Lanka, Azerbaijan, taught in Iraq for a bit, Kazakhstan, Spain, and Italy. But now I'm based here in Northern Ireland, where I do these weekly webinars on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all social media, where I talk about a different subject to do with EFL. I'm here in Belfast. Please let us know where you are in Northern Ireland. It's always good to know where you are. If you type into the chat, doesn't matter what medium you're watching this on, if you put an answer into the chat, it will come up on my screen. Because this is a live webinar and I can answer any questions you might have at all about teaching English as a foreign language. We do a variety of different topics we've covered, and they're all on our YouTube page for you to go and look back. You can also go and watch this one again on YouTube. We do a variety of topics. We talk about the different skills. We talk about different ages that you can teach, different locations around the world, how to get jobs, CVs, interviews, all this kind of thing. So if you want to know more about the world of English as a foreign language, have a look at our YouTube page or go on our website, TEFL.org. Good to see people saying hello. Always nice to see some familiar names and to see people tuning in. Right, so today's topic is about how to build your teaching experience. So basically, this is sort of aimed at people who might be new to the world of English as a foreign language teaching, or who are thinking about becoming a teacher, or who's maybe doing their training at the moment. I'm going to talk a bit today about how to get started and get yourself some teaching experience. I'm going to talk a little bit as well about sort of some of the different programs you can do, and also, sorry about that, and also what to put in your CV as well. But before we start, I do have a question, and I'd love to know your answer by putting it in the chat. And it's quite a simple one today. Is what teaching experience do you have? Just so we can know in the chat all the different types of levels of experience we have. So it could be that you're quite newly qualified, might be you have no teaching experience, could also be that you have a load. Please do put your answer in the chat, and everyone's saying hello, which is always nice to see as well. Right, so today I'm going to talk a bit about what counts as teaching experience, because this is a question we get asked a bit. We're going to talk a bit about volunteering, because this is quite a nice way to get some EFL teaching experience. Also talk a bit about internships and some language assistant roles. Summer schools as well, because they are some of the best ways to get some early teaching experience in your career, and also how to use the experience that you've gained to build a CV. We can talk a bit about those. Right, so firstly, what counts as experience? Now, some people sort of have said to me in the past that volunteer work doesn't count as English experience, and I don't agree with that at all. Any sort of paid or unpaid teaching counts as teaching experience. Now, if you come from a background that's not English as a foreign language teaching, that might not count as direct teaching EFL experience, but what it does count towards is building up a picture to recruiters that you are eligible to be a teacher because you have got some teaching experience before. So it doesn't necessarily have to be EFL teaching, but if you do any English as a foreign language teaching and it's paid or unpaid, that counts as experience. It doesn't have to be paid teaching. And I'll talk a bit about the unpaid teaching in a bit. Online and also in-person classes also counts as experience. If you've been teaching online for say 2 years, and now you think, okay, now I'm going to go and do some face-to-face or vice versa, that would count as experience when you go and apply for jobs. So if you see jobs that say want 2 years experience, and that's a face-to-face job, but you've been teaching online, it will also count. A one-to-one teaching, group lessons also counts. Doesn't have to be that group lessons are the only way to get experience. If you go do one-to-one teaching, that does also count as experience. Also, some sort of support roles. So if you do like you're an assistant in a class, even if you're sort of just observing a little bit, that kind of thing can be put down as experience. So why do you need experience? So you will see jobs advertised where they say, we would like experience. And the reason why companies do ask for this is, first of all, because if you've got experience, you have built your confidence in teaching. You sort of, if you've got a year, even if you've got one term under your belt, you know that you can do it. You know that the students like you, that you are employable, that kind of thing. So getting a bit of experience under your under your radar, under your belt, will help you to build your confidence. And this can be volunteer as well. It can also help you to develop your skills. So teaching different levels, for example, is a slightly different skill, teaching advanced to teaching beginners. So teaching a range of different students in a range of different experiences can help to develop your skills. Also helps you to find a style. What sort of teacher are you going to be? Are you going to be a super joking, sort of out there crazy teacher? Or are you going to be a little bit more serious? Are you going to be a bit more strict? You don't necessarily know that until you start teaching, and getting a bit of experience in can help you to find a style as a teacher. Also can help you to learn different activities. You go work for a company, or you go do some volunteering work, you work for someone else, you might speak to somebody who goes, oh, this activity will work here, a different teacher. Or if you've been doing a term, you start Googling things, you start learning things that you've learned from AI tools or from Google. And then you've got a sort of bank of activities that will work when you go and work in a job full time, maybe. You can also find what you enjoy. Do you enjoy teaching adults? Do you enjoy teaching kids? Do you enjoy teaching exam classes? Within kids, what age range do you like? Just getting a bit of experience allows you to find these things yourself. And it also gives you examples for applications. So if you've got some volunteer experience or some language assistant experience, you then go and apply for a full-time job in a different country or a full-time job online. You've got those examples to talk about in your interview, gives you those examples to also talk about on your CV. Right, so volunteering is probably the easiest way to get experience, and it is quite an easy way to get experience. And it's great for people starting out because it involves quite low pressure teaching. If the students in front of you haven't paid to be there, they might not be expecting as much as someone that's maybe paid a few $100s to try and pass their IELTS test. It's very low pressure teaching. So when you get up and you stand up in front of that class and you're volunteering, you don't have to be absolutely perfect. You don't have to be pressing the students to their full abilities. You haven't got this maybe target that you've got to get them all up to. It's quite low pressure. It's quite a nice way to start teaching. It's also quite flexible and can be accessible. So it's flexible in terms of you haven't necessarily got to commit, to be a full-time volunteer for 10 weeks, like you would have to when you were in a teaching job. You'd have to commit for 10 weeks for 25 hours a week of contact hours. It can also be, so, it's flexible because you might just be working one afternoon a week or one morning or whatever it might be. If you do some one-on-one refugee teaching, for example, that you can sometimes determine that change the time each week, and that can fit around your work schedule that you have already. It's also quite accessible because there's probably some volunteer teaching going on near you somewhere right now, wherever you are in the world. It can also be done online as well. So again, that could be quite accessible. You haven't got to travel anywhere. You do get real learners with real needs. They are, okay, it's low pressure, but they can be quite highly motivated. They can really, really need to learn a bit of English. And they can also quite often have a special need that they want to, to live in another country, to apply for something, to get a job. They have real needs that you can work towards, and that will help you to gain experience in giving students exactly what they need. It's excellent for newly qualified teachers. If you really are worried about your work experience early on after you've qualified, or even if you are sort of doing your qualification and you haven't quite finished it, you can do volunteer work sometimes. They will take them on. So it's really excellent for newly qualified teachers. It can show future employers that you are professional as well, because as I'm going to talk about in a bit, it's not just necessarily a conversation club. The way you teach volunteers can really show that you are a professional and you know about the EFL business and how it works in terms of getting the student to where they need to be. Right, so volunteering online, you can teach learners worldwide. So you can teach learners that are in the same country as you. You can also teach learners that are in a different country from you. So there is lots of volunteer work around the world that you can do. And you really do have a flexible schedule with this. You can build it around when you work in your full-time job that you have now, or your studies, for example. You can do one-to-one teaching. You can also do small group teaching. Now, small groups tends to be maybe 2, 3, 4. Sometimes you can teach a family. Sometimes you can teach a couple of friends at the same time. There is that flexibility. And this is great for getting a bit of experience, because you will find if you go work full-time somewhere, they have one-to-one classes. They also have small group classes. Now, these are probably the 2 best known companies, or charities really is a better word, for teaching volunteers. I have some experience with Refinet. They're fantastic. Balakun, I have less experience with. So if you do want to get into volunteering, Google this one as well. You'll find some websites. You can contact them and see where you go from there. Right, volunteering face-to-face. So this is slightly different. So I should say that Refinet and Balakun, they tend to be online. They do some face-to-face volunteering if you just happen to be close to someone where they need a volunteer for, but that tends to be online. Volunteering face-to-face, how do you find these jobs? So community centres tends to be. So basically, you've got to do a bit of work yourself to try and find them. Now, what do I mean by local community centres? It sort of depends on different countries where you are, but it tends to be somewhere like, for example, I've seen notices up in my doctor's surgery wanting some volunteers to teach English. I've known there to be posters up in libraries, for example, local community. So basically anywhere where people in the community get together, you could put a poster up, or you might see a poster saying, we need volunteers. And it's quite simple. You could put a poster up and say, I am an English teacher wanting to help. Yeah, do you want English lessons? And sometimes you can put that in the local language, something like that. That can really help to get you students. Contact local charities and non-government organizations. So charities, you will find probably, especially if you're in an English-speaking country, that there are local charities that are getting involved with the refugees or asylum seekers that are trying to get into a country and are already here, and they want people to help them. So if you type in to Google, charities or English learning charities, refugees, asylum seekers charities near you, you will find some. Okay. Libraries, as I said before, they sometimes run free English classes for local people. You could get involved with those. Religious associations. So sometimes people who want to learn English but can't afford it, they fall into the lap of, say, local churches, local mosques, synagogues, this kind of thing. And I went and taught at the local Islamic center here in Northern Ireland. I'm not a Muslim. I just contacted them, and they found out that they said, yes, we need a teacher. Great. I organized some classes like that. So just contacting local churches, contacting local religious establishments can help you find students. And once you find them, then you're away, you can teach them. And then you can sort of run within them conversation clubs. You can also find maybe local ESOL classes. So ESOL classes are classes for people learning English that are in an English speaking country. So for example, you're in, let's try and find who have we got here. We've got on the list we've got today, someone I saw in Florida. So we've got someone in from Florida. They might be, let's say they're in Orlando. They will run English classes for people needing to learn English who are already in Orlando. That would be an ESOL class. And you would find that there are lots of people locally and establishments that might do that. Also, think about maybe your friends and family. So, if you're skilled in English and you've got some friends that aren't, maybe pick 3 or 4 and try and teach them. If you do it professionally, and I'll talk a bit about that in a second, that can go on your CV. Same with your family. Now, is it ideal to teach your family something? Probably not. Is it difficult to teach your friends? Yes, it could be. But if you do it well, you do it correctly, it can really, really help you to get through and get a bit of experience. Right. So how do you make volunteering work to show that it's definitely 100% as good as paid work? You have to treat it professionally. Just because you're not getting paid doesn't mean that you don't need to treat it professionally. So you've got your group of students, your friends, your family, your ESOL class, your local refugees, whatever it might be. You need to do something called a needs analysis. That's basically where you check what the student wants, what they need, and what you think they have to learn. I've done webinars where I talk about needs analysis. I love needs analysis. I love talking about them a lot. So if you want more information, go on YouTube and see if you can find that. Then from that, you might write a curriculum. So you might sort of plan, or syllabus, you might plan 10 weeks of classes leading from where they are now up to a certain level, covering certain grammar points. You then will have to find the materials for it. And, you're trying to find high quality ones that match the curriculum, which match their needs analysis. And then you want to be keeping some records of what you've taught, the homework they've done, what skills they've covered, what grammar points, what low vocabulary, because that kind of thing could be presented in a job to show in your CV, to show that you know how EFL classes work. And then, set homework, mark the homework, do it like you would have a proper class or proper course. Test the students, give them maybe a speaking test, give them a listening test, a reading test, whatever it is you might be doing, a vocabulary test. Show that that there's a bit of assessment, and you can show that your students have progressed, which will help you on your CV. So all of this is important when you're doing volunteer work as well. Doing all of this will show to an employer that you are a professional EFL teacher. Then reflect. Once you've done all these things, what could you have done better? What could you have done worse? What next time you do it, what would you do extra? What would you take out? Reflect on it. And then again, that's something you can show in your CV. This course was taught again and adapted to be a better quality, something like that. You can also put it in your CV to show on an interview, to show I realized that I needed to do more speaking. So I taught myself more speaking. I have improved as a teacher this way. So we are a teacher training company. We help people to become EFL teachers. We do lots of things within EFL as well. Obviously we run webinars like this. We also run podcasts, this kind of thing. But we do offer, through other companies, through us, we offer internships. And if you go on our website, tefl.org, and if you if you do a search for internships, you'll find it, or you'll find it quite easily at the top. Now, why are internships good? They're good because they offer structured teaching experience. So basically, this would be your first teaching role. And you would either be, because there's different ones that we offer, you either be like a full-time teacher, or you might be a language assistant. But it will offer structured teaching experience where you are told what to teach, you are given materials, You have a group of students that have to get to a certain level or pass a certain test. It's very, very structured. So that's really good when you're new, because it can show you how the business works in terms of getting students to a certain level. It's also very well organized. You won't be the first one to do it. The school will have had people on internships before, so it's well organized. With things like accommodation as well, and picking up at the airport, insurance, that kind of thing. It's very well organized. You will get support, you will get guidance, and that might come from the school, might come from another teacher that's there, might come from a handbook, something like that. But you will get some support, you will get some guidance in telling you how to improve or what you need to do. Gives you some good, clear outcomes for your CV. You can very clearly state, I did this. And that is what you need to show experience. If you're doing it volunteers, that's why you want to do it professionally. I did a needs analysis. I set them a test. I marked the test. I set the homework. I created the materials. These kind of things are really good for your CV and can help you to get experience. We offer 4 different destinations on there. Go on there and have a little look, see if any of those float your boat. And also, it's a really great first teaching role. Sometimes people can be a bit nervous, especially about going abroad, but we can help you with that. Go on our website, see what you can find. It's a really, really great first teaching role. I can see that we've put the link in the chat in Facebook and YouTube as well. Hopefully that will come up for you. Right. So internships is one way, volunteering is one way. You could also go into the ELA route, which is an English language assistant route. So basically what you are here is a support teacher. You will quite often go and work in a school or a university somewhere around the world, and you'll have a qualified teacher there who just needs a bit of help with things like setting the homework, setting up the activities, collecting the homework. And you'll be basically a support teacher. You might find that you go and help 1 or 2 specific students. You're basically a support teacher. And you can lead small groups within that. So although you will be there watching a qualified teacher, very often the qualified teacher will say, right, okay, Carl is now going to come in and lead the next activity. Carl is going to come in and do a conversation club tomorrow. This kind of thing can really help you on your CV, because you can say that these are things that I led, I planned, I delivered. And it's basically classroom exposure without the full responsibility. If the students all fail, it won't be your fault, it will be the main teacher's fault. But you're part of the team that can get them there. And you can have classroom experience by watching. You can have classroom experience, as I said, by leading. This kind of thing can really, really help. These are 3 of the things to Google. The British Council offer different English language assistant roles around the world. You don't have to be British to do it. So they are worth looking at. The other thing where you could maybe become an English language assistant is to go and volunteer at a local language school near you. So I'm here in Belfast, Northern Ireland. I know of 4 or 5 language schools in Belfast that they would probably love to take on an English language assistant. And Belfast is a small city. It's in a city where everyone speaks English. If you're in, let's say you're in Delhi, there will be hundreds, thousands even maybe of language schools in a massive city like Delhi. If you're in Australia, if you're in Sydney, there will be language schools near you to people teaching English. If you're in Spain, you will have local language schools near you teaching people English. Same in America, wherever you are in the world. If you want to get a bit of experience, you could contact them. Just find them on Google. You won't see them advertised for language assistant roles for local language schools. You'll see language assistant roles advertised for these, but you won't for like a local language school. Contact them. Hi, my name's Carl. I'm recently TEFL qualified. I would like to get some experience helping out in the class. I can come on a Thursday between the hours of 8 and 10 p.m. Perfect. They'll probably take you on. There are local language schools near you that will take on volunteer ELAs. Okay. And after that, it can quite often lead to a full-time job. Right, summer schools for a first role are for a first full-time teaching role. Summer schools in different parts around the world are really, really useful. They are quite short-term intensive teaching. So you will be taken on for something like 6, 8, 10 or 12 weeks to teach a group of students quite intensively. You'll teach them for maybe sort of 20, 25 hours a week. You'll have probably just one class, maybe two where they split it, depends. And it will be quite short term. It can be quite intensive. It's very often young learners as well. There's a high demand for summer school teachers around the world. So you think wherever there are schools where the kids have, I'm talking general high schools, junior high schools, elementary schools, primary schools, the students will have a block of, let's say, 6, 8 weeks off in the summer or the winter, depends where it is around the world. And the parents of those kids want them to go into some sort of school in the summer for that break. So companies set up schools, and some of those schools will be teaching English. So it doesn't have to be in the UK, doesn't have to be in America, doesn't have to be in an English-speaking country. It can be around the world. You will find summer camp jobs. There's a high demand for teachers. And they quite often take on people who are inexperienced, because experienced teachers tend to have year-round teaching roles. You often get very good support. They often give good support from experienced teachers. So the school will have an experienced director of studies or senior teacher, something like that, and they can really, really help the inexperienced teachers. And if you do a good job, there's always opportunities to teach again the following year. I know people that will go and teach in Europe for sort of 8 months of the year, then go teach in summer schools for the other 3 to 4 months of the year. It's a great way to earn some money because these are paid, and also you get to see some good locations as well around the place. Now, some will pay your flights, some might not pay your flights, but it's a good way of maybe seeing some good locations you haven't seen in your own country. Now, why are summer schools good for your CV? They're good because you have different levels, you have different ages. You know, you're teaching quite young kids, you're also teaching sort of teenagers. Quite often it's team teaching. I've done summer schools where I've taught half a class. So I've taught a class for half the week and another class for the other half of the week. So you have to liaise with the other teacher to make sure you're covering the same things. You'll also be observed by someone. So you can talk about in interviews, oh, I realized that I needed to improve my board work, so I did this to improve my board work. Recruiters love that kind of thing. Also can give you a really good reference, and is very often a first EFL job. It was my very, very first EFL job, and I actually went through it. I did it over 3 years, and by the end of the second year, I was actually in charge of one of the summer schools, and I really, really loved it. So don't think that you just need to do one of the things I've talked about over the last half hour. There's no correct route into teaching. There's lots of different routes. You know, do a bit of volunteer work, do a summer school, do a bit of online work, go work as an English language assistant. If you've got the time, if you've got, and it's, you know, a bit of money, that sort of thing can help. Try different ways in teaching. Don't just think, right, I'm going to try this teaching refugees, try these charities. Oh, I didn't enjoy that. Okay, I'm going to give up. You know, trial and error, try and find different ways. Progress quite slowly. When you first qualify, if you're not sure whether you're going to get an EFL job full time, whether it's for you, do a bit of it, and then just, you know, do a bit of volunteering, do a bit of ELA work, and then see if you like it. Progress slowly, start building up, and then you can maybe start applying for full-time jobs. But what you need to know is that it's going to be difficult at the start. The very first classes you do will not be particularly great classes. And no matter how much you plan, you've got to be, you know, prepared to make some mistakes early on, to have students that are going to sort of test you a little bit, whether it's volunteering, whether it's paid, whether it's a summer school. It's going to be a little bit tricky. So think about the different roles you want to do. Try a few different ones, see if that works out for you. Then you've done all these. So how are you going to present your experience? Don't focus in your CV on pay. Now, obviously in the CV, we don't tend to write how much we got paid. But what I'm saying is don't focus on whether your job was paid or not. Focus on the responsibilities that you had. What did you actually do? In your CV, in your interview, in your application, talk about the learners. They improved. They learned this. They took this. Talk about the learners. That will show that you know what you're doing. Use action verbs. Verbs like planned, taught, assessed, delivered. These kind of verbs can show that you know what it is to be an EFL teacher. Put it in your CV, present it in the interview. Include any volunteer roles you've done, whether they're paid, whether unpaid, whether they're to your Uncle Bob. If you planned and you taught and you assessed and then you delivered lessons to Uncle Bob, put them in the CV. Put them in your interview. Talk about them in the interview. Put them in any applications you have. You don't necessarily have to tell them that he's your uncle, but just talk. I got a student to intermediate level of English, something like this. Right. What are some of the common concerns we hear from newly qualified teachers? All employers want experience. How can I get a job? All employers want experience. Right. If you are an employer and you're advertising, you're probably going to say that you want experienced teachers, even if you'll take people that are inexperienced, because you want to try and recruit experienced teachers. However, if that school is recruiting 10 teachers, if that summer camp needs 40 teachers, if that internship has 30, 40 different roles, they will probably be up for taking inexperienced teachers as well. Employers advertise they want experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they won't take on people. If you see a job that you like the look of, go for it. I'm not ready yet. Now, this is fair enough. I think you take your 120-hour course, you got your certificate, but you still might not have, unless you do one of our practical modules, have spent any time in front of students, so you don't feel like you're ready. Volunteering is great for that because it's low pressure. It can get you going. You can actually realize, you know what? I think I can do this. I don't want to teach adults. All I can see is adults volunteer work. I don't want to teach children. I don't want to teach beginners. I don't want to teach advanced. I only want to teach intermediate classes to someone named James on a Tuesday at 4:35 p.m. Right. When I first started teaching, I did not want to teach kids. First few kids classes I did, I absolutely loved it. Now I love teaching kids. I was really worried about teaching beginners. When I started teaching, I realized I had a beginner's class. It was really, really good. It's a big part of teaching is teaching different levels, teaching different ages. So just be open to it. Everyone else has more experience, but everyone started somewhere. Everyone started without any teaching experience, and then they got through it and they got their experience. Don't worry about this. Just worry about yourself and what you can control. All right, some of my final thoughts before I get to some questions. So please do put any questions in the chat that you might have. Experience comes in many forms, teaching kids, teaching adults, teaching specific classes, teaching different levels. Don't worry that you'll think that any experience you have is not relevant. Volunteering is definitely valuable. Can really, really help to boost your CV, can show that you are a good teacher. Very structured roles can build your confidence. Something like an internship can help you if you feel that you are not confident enough to be a teacher. Start small and expect it to be difficult. Because when you first start, it can be tricky. So why not just start with quite a low pressure, small one-on-one role, see how you go from there. Right. What do you need to do if you are inexperienced? Explore volunteering. So the two you're looking for Refunet, refunet.org.uk. Also Balakun, Balakun. Go have a look at those, see what you can find with those. Sorry, I seem to have lost. There you go. Research assistant roles. So, look at those companies that I said, the British Council slide, go back and pause this, have a look, see if there's any of those, do a bit of Googling, see if any of those work out for you. look at our website, tefl.org/TEFL-internships. You will find some internship information on there. Whatever teaching you do, start logging it. Log what you did, log who you taught, log the number of hours that you did. This can help you to build your CV. Thank you very much. Right, let's have a look at some of your questions and some of your ideas. I did ask you what sort of experience you had. I can see some people already said some information about that. Let's get to it in a minute. Jenny, hi. By attaining the TEFL certificate, how does this enable a person to develop career-wise? What are the perks? So basically, it helps you to become an EFL teacher, an English as a foreign language teacher. So there are lots of different roles in this. I've done webinars where I talk about how to make a career out of teaching English as a foreign language. You know, I have made a career out of teaching English as a foreign language. But I started with my certificate and I started with a class looking at me, wanting to learn about vocabulary, wanting to learn about grammar. It all starts from there. Once you've done it for a while, can lead into jobs such as management jobs or senior teacher jobs, can lead into roles such as materials writing, exam marking, exam writing. There's lots of different roles within that. And, you know, you could get jobs in universities, you can go into lecturing. But everybody that I know started with their certificate, their 120-hour certificate in front of a class, the teacher not really knowing what they're doing, but they've had a plan and see what they can do. The students looking at you like, right, who is this guy? What is he going to teach me? So it just leads you into a career of EFL. Look at our webinar where we talked about EFL as a certificate, as a career. Lots of people saying hello. Lovely to see everybody saying hello. People saying they got experience online. Fantastic. Online is a really good way of learning your first few volunteer roles. Also, you can make money from teaching online. Someone said about PNRR Italian funding. I'm not quite sure what that is. It's a power school. Okay, I don't get a bit more information. That would be great. Where you taught corporate and professional English courses, great. A nurse, some teaching on basic health, great. Rick says he's done it in person. Summer camp work as well. Kelly's got loads of stuff here. ELA interventionist, substitute instructor, tutor and academic coaching. 12 years so late instructor. Oh, wow. You should be doing one of these webinars, Kelly, presenting them. Peter, hi. Volunteer TEFL. Great. I hope you enjoyed it. Sri Lanka. Wow. Yeah, I lived in Colombo for a bit teaching there. Kerala, that's a lovely part of the world. Adult school children. There we go, Peter. That sounds fantastic. I hope you really enjoyed all of that. And you're 66 and you plan to do more in Asia. Wow. Good for you. Hi, Sean. I am well, thank you. Glad to catch a live stream. Sean's been in contact with us a few times, I think. Currently live in Beijing. I'm doing your course with TEFL. Right, I really hope you enjoy it. I don't know where you are. Beijing could be a bit cold, is it, in January? I was there once in January. I think it was freezing. I hope you're enjoying it anyway, Sean. Someone asked about the names of the volunteer organizations. Yep, it was RefuNet and also Balakun. Thank you, everyone. That's some really nice chat. So basically, if you are if you're watching this live, you know, obviously put a question in. I'm coming to the end now, but I might have enough time to fill it in. If you're not watching this live and you're watching this on playback, you can always send us a message through our website. Go on tefl.org. There's a send message function on there. You can also send us a message through Facebook. We've got a whole team that answers any questions you might have about EFL. We also have a Facebook group where you can discuss this kind of thing, and you can ask any questions. You will find some people in there that will maybe be able to answer your question. Peter, you're 66. Do you think age will be an issue to do more volunteering? I don't think so. No, for sure not, Peter. Quite often, so some countries, they have an upper limit on work visas. Volunteering sometimes is a different visa where you don't need to have an upper age limit because it's not paid. So I don't think so. And you could definitely do lots of, I don't know if it sounds like, Peter, you want to go abroad, but there are definitely online volunteering roles you can do. But definitely, there's definitely work out there for you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I hope you found it useful. Please let us know if you did find it useful. If you didn't find it useful, also please let us know. It's really, really good to get any feedback we have. Thank you very much, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world.